Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Deqa Haji. I am here today to share my story. I am a mother. I am a registered nurse. I am a proud advocate for my son, Mahad Mohamed. For the last 2 years, I've had to navigate unimaginable situations alone. Since the birth of my now 2-year-old son, I have experienced retaliation, being ignored, and being stripped of all my parental rights. I am pleading for your support and seeking justice, clarity, and transparency. My son was born at Mount Carmel St. Anne Hospital. I apologize in advance if I choke up. This has been a traumatic experience for my family and I. My son was born at Mount Carmel St. Anne Hospital, where I believe he sustained an injury during an unplanned cesarean section. I want to be very clear that I was very observant and alert during my procedure, in which I was partially induced with a regional anesthesia. For those of you that do not know what that means, you are numb from the waist down, so you are alert to know what's actually going on in the procedure room. I was eagerly waiting for my babies to cry. I was eagerly waiting for 2 healthy babies to be placed into my arms. However, I was given 1 normal baby and 1 not so normal. Despite my child's Abigar score, which states an 8, meaning that he was a normal baby, there was nothing vigorous or spontaneous about my child. He was not crying. He was not moving. He just stared at the ceiling. I know what I experienced in that room. During the birth, I observed actions that made me concerned for my child's well-being, but my worries were dismissed. The hospital was eager to discharge us. Despite me complaining after birth, I have brought to their attention numerous times that my child was not the same as baby A, which is Mahad, the first baby that was pulled out after my cesarean section. We were still sent home, only for the injury to manifest at home. Over the next few days at home, it became very, very clear to me that something was not right with my child. As the mother of 4 children, including my twins, I could see the difference in my son's behavior compared to his siblings. For three days, he showed signs of abnormality. And despite my repeated attempts to get answers, Mount Carmel St. Anne chose not to respond to me, chose to ignore my pain and my child's health and well-being. I cried for help. I did not receive it until I nearly passed out in my recovery room after birth. They only then called for an ultrasound to be conducted. After the ultrasound, it was determined that fluid has leaked back into my liver, so indeed my pain was real and I was not faking it. At that time, they realized that they needed to treat me and inserted my IV and gave me the proper pain management I needed. They have refused to disclose vital information, including my child's records, leaving me and my legal counsel unable to advocate for my child fully. These documents, which we are requesting to be released to me, intact and untampered with, are critical. I should not have to face unimaginable roadblocks to advocate for my child. I want to be clear that I have only partial medical records, and I am requesting that all my medical records be released to me. Despite my constant plea for clarity and requests by my lawyers, Mount Carmel St. Anne Hospital has yet to disclose these records. I am here to demand accountability. As a healthcare professional myself, I understand the importance of transparency, and I refuse to accept anything less than the truth about what happened to my child. Unexpectedly, one night, as my child was being fed by his father, what every parent's nightmare is took place. What I have been cautioning and reporting took place. As my child was feeding, he choked and started bleeding from his mouth and nose. He was immediately transported to Nationwide Children's Hospital for treatment and was there diagnosed to have a chronic brain injury. For 8 weeks, I had my child at home, and he was slowly bleeding in his brain, and we had no idea. Something that could have been easily prevented. He was then placed in the care of Franklin County Children's Services. Throughout this time, I have been denied my rights to make essential medical decisions for my child. I have full parental rights per court orders, yet time after time again, I have been dismissed and denied access to vital medical decisions for my son. I am requesting specific accommodations and interventions, but my requests have been ignored. This is unacceptable and a clear violation of both my parental and civil rights. No parent should be forced to stand by while their child's health is deteriorating due to poor health care and lack of communication. As a mother, it is devastating to see my child not receive the proper treatment. It is devastating to see my child not receive the proper treatment, and it is even more painful to be sidelined from making decisions that could improve my child's quality of life. Initially, FCCS has denied me access to my son. Thankfully, only recently, they began to cooperate. And while this is great, I have other demands that need to be addressed to ensure that my child is advocated for. This small step does not erase the pain, agony, trauma that my family have endured for nearly 3 years now, and the pain of being kept away from your child. Nationwide Children's Hospital has completely anchored Mount Carmel, St. Anne, and have stripped me of my rights and neglected my child with the hopes of him passing away, so their false allegations of child abuse and the narrative they have written about us can be perpetrated. We are his parents, and we are being criminalized for injuries caused by them. Nationwide Children's Hospital continues to treat me as an outsider, discarding my expertise and my rights to be involved in my son's care. No mother should have to endure this, and no child should suffer because of lack of communication and cooperations between institutions that are supposed to be protecting us, serving us. Before I move on to what I have to say next, I want to stop here and give you guys 2 prime examples of the discrimination, profiling, and the overall prejudice that I have experienced at Nationwide Children's Hospital. My child was in the ICU. He was bleeding from every hole possible. My child was being sectioned. Canisters of blood was being sectioned. Still, my child was discharged from the ICU as he was stable. I begged and I pleaded with those doctors. I was in the worst place a parent could be, and I begged them to help me, to help my child. And the ICU attending approached me, and he looked me in the eyes and said, "Ma'am, I can see that your child is in pain and that you are in pain. My suggestion to you is to let him go." Immediately, what I was feeling disappeared. If I was crying, my tears dried up. Whatever emotions I was feeling completely disappeared. I have a human being suggesting that another human being's life be taken away because he's a burden, because he's too much for them to take care of. Nationwide Children's Hospital have called security and the police on me multiple times for merely asking for pain medication for my son. They would perform surgeries on this child and give him Tylenol and ibuprofen for pain management. Surgeries that an adult could not suffer through. And when I advocated for him, I was told that he didn't appear to be in pain. How can he appear or show you that he's in pain when he's a completely dependent, nonverbal child? His only form of communication is the tears that come from his eyes. And you're telling me that he's not in pain. All of the complaints that we have filed with the Patient Relations Office at Nationwide Children's Hospital have fallen below belt. Not one of our complaints have been addressed. We went as far as to requesting a meeting with the CEO, and he sent the medical administrator. At this time, we have expressed to the medical administrator our concerns, not only for my family, but also for my community. At this time, we have faced another roadblock, as the medical administrator told us what we were saying had no valid basis, and they would have to go back and ask the people we were reporting, basically confronting the people we had issues with. Nationwide Children's Hospital has to come speak with my community. They have to speak with me. They have to address these very serious concerns that we have. We have one too many children in our community that are now affected with health and medical conditions that are unexplained. Parents are not able to speak for themselves and request the information that they need to make the decisions that they would like to make for their children. Over the last 2 years, I have endured distress and trauma caused by Mount Carmel, St. Anne, and Nationwide Children's Hospital violation of my parental rights. The longer they take to respond to medical recommendations, the likelihood of my son experiencing a health crisis increase. The lack of communication and the lack of respect for my parental rights has inflicted trauma on my family. This is not just about one family. This is about holding these institutions accountable for the discrimination and negligence that they are inflicting on families. Today, I am asking you for support, my community. I cannot fight this alone. I cannot fight this battle alone. I should not have to fight this battle alone. I am here to demand that Mount Carmel, St. Anne, and Nationwide Children's Hospital be truthful, to provide me with all of my untampered medical records, to meet with me, my community leaders, and legal advisors, to explain the current treatment plan for my son. I am asking that they answer my questions quickly, as my child's life depends on it. I have a completely bedridden, dependent, vulnerable child. The least you can do is address me and my community. I do not want another family to endure what I have. The last 2 years have been a nightmare. I have been mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially drained and exhausted. I have been outpowered and out-resourced and completely sunk into a system that I am defenseless against. And I am simply requesting a meeting to understand the medical decisions being made for my son. I want to reiterate that my child's medical records are being falsified. They are being weaponized in a court of law and used against us as his parents to criminalize us. This is wrong. This is wrong for my family. This is wrong for any parent or for any child. We demand that the institutions that are healing our youth address us and please work with us to fix the disparities amongst our community and these institutions. Thank you so much for your time. As we currently speak, my child care has been transported back to Nationwide Children's Hospital, although I have requested for my child care to be in Cincinnati Children's Hospital. This was done against my will. Once my child was transported back to Nationwide Children's Hospital, we have recently learned that they have removed the port that he had. My child has been poked since he was born. He has no more veins left. For this reason, he can get into a critical medical situation at any time, meaning he needs a quick access and he needs life-saving measure medication to be administered right there and then. With them removing the port right now, he's unable to get any rescue medication. God forbid he has an emergency. We were recently told that they were not going to reinsert the port, even though I, as his parent, is requesting for it to be inserted back. We were told, rather, if the child ends up having a medical emergency, they will perform something called an IO. That is when they have to drill the bone to get access to administer medication to the child. I ask anyone who's watching me, who would wait until the last minute, till something happened to their child, to expose them to be drilled? I don't want my child's bone to be drilled. I want my child to be provided with the care that he needs. I was taken to court because they wanted to put a port in him that I disagreed with. I was taken to court for things that are well within my right. My parental rights have been stripped. My civil rights have been stripped. I need them restored. I need my child back with me. And I need to know this is not going to happen to another woman in my community. Luckily, I am able to stand in front of you to convey my message to you clearly, to be able to get the appropriate representation that I need, to be able to speak to these doctors and be very transparent for my child's decisions, the decisions we have chosen to make for him. I am able to do all of that. What about for the next woman that's not able to do that? That's not able to sit in that room? That's not able to